those things are kind of expensive. Of course, you know, he wouldn't dream of stealing them from the library where he works. No, not him. No question.
I liberated.
You liberated. Speaking of which, would you buy a used man from this car? My girlfriend saw this picture and she said, he looks like he's having an orgasm. And I said to her, who told you about orgasms? Well, they say that anxiety is genetic. All these scientists have come up with this theory that there's a gene for anxiety. And I'm like, how can they know? How can they know? I'm writing a book on obsessive compulsive behavior, but I'm not going to send it to the printer until I count every word 40 or 50 times. Or maybe not. Yes means no, and no means yes. Will you do it or not? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no! In Oakland, California, the school committee there has declared Ebonics, Black Phonics, to be an official language. Not a dialect, but a language. And, you know, I can see where that's coming from because, you know, I'm Italian and we have our own language in our family. It's called italics. And it's like, Grandma, if a tree falls in the forest and there's nobody there to hear it, does it make a sound? What's it going on in the forest? What tree fell everywhere? It's okay, I'm so killed! Speaking of school, when I was in 7th grade, a substitute teacher gave me perhaps the best advice I've ever gotten, which was, best let it out and bear the shame, then hold it in and bear the pain. You know, it occurs to me, you might have been talking about flatulence. I thought it was some profound philosophical statement. Here, it's just a vulgar joke. Like so much in this. You know, the things they teach children, like starting from the very earliest age, nursery rhymes. I think they should teach them more realistic stuff, like Little Jack Horner sat in a corner eating his Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, my selection of this plum, which clarifies my intent to render an ideological judgment, symbolizes what Freud would call a food dirtying motif, and represents the expropriative greed of a state of arrested development, stemming from a childhood burdened by affective deprivation, due to the depredations of a ruthlessly exploitive, objectifying mercantilist society, which rules and fragments the nuclear family by means of the iron law of wages. What a good boy am I. That would be more like it. Or maybe, old King Cole was ruthless in his oblivious exploitation of his objectified and thoroughly pacified salaried robots, who brought him his pipe, bowl, and fiddler's three. Stupefying palliatives which made the otherwise intolerable boredom of his hegemonic regime palatable. I'm the wrong hero, and I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself. I am apathetically engaged, frivolously serious, altruistically misanthropic, cynically utilitarian, sympathetically callous, omnisciently ignorant, thoughtlessly philosophical. I am an ascetic glutton, a proletarian nobleman. I believe in sacrificial hedonism, Dionysian stoicism. I am a nihilistic animist, a materialistic Taoist, a fighting Quaker, a fucking monk. I was the stupidest genius in my class at Harvard. I am oxymoronically non-contradictory, positively negative, an active placebo. This is my most unforgettable show ever, but you will forget everything I've said the minute you walk out the door. I'd like to bring you a message from my sponsor, Angry Wounded Pride Beer. Now, unlike those fancy micro brews that you pay $9, $10 for, you know the kinds I mean, Anchor, Steam, all the rest. We don't go back with a tradition of hundreds of years where carefully trained master brewers do their mumbo-jumbo over huge vats of barley and barley and malt. No, we just walk us up a batch in the old batch, so every time we need some walking around cash, in a tradition that dates back to Prohibition and the Great Depression. Now, we came up with the name Angry Wounded Pride Beer in this way. I was talking to my girlfriend, and I told her about it, and she said, why don't you concentrate on getting a job so we can raise a family instead of thinking of stupid beer names? Hence the name Angry Wounded Pride Beer. No, we don't have any fancy hops like you get in Czechoslovakia or Vienna or Romania or any of the other communist countries. You know what kind of beer they have in Russia? It's called vodka, and they sell it in bottles with non-resealable tops for vending machines. And if you want real beer, you have to go to Siberia. What? I never repeat myself. I never repeat myself, except to establish a leitmotif. Except to establish, I never a leitmotif repeat myself. Anyway, you won't find Angry Wounded Pride beer in places like Montana is up on the east side where they charge you $12.95 for a side of butane-soaked ribs and have the nerve to charge you 75 cents extra for extra sauce, which costs them 3 cents to make because it's mostly fucking vinegar. Nor will you find Angry Wounded Pride beer at liquor stores like Haxton's, where they pretend to love the Grateful Dead, but they won't give you a refund on skunky beer. Nor will you find Angry Wounded Pride beer at AS220 or other fine establishments. No, you have to ask me for it, and since I'm running low on bottles, it's best if you bring an aluminum bucket or similar non-corroding material. Yes, our motto is brewed yesterday, aged in porcelain bathtubs. Now, Angry Wounded Pride beer goes good with all kinds of food. Let's face it, a lush like you is beyond food. Our beer ain't fancy, it's cheap vodka for alcoholic bohunks who want to get drunk in a big fucking hurry. Alright. Now, you might have noticed the 33 on our label. It doesn't refer to the number of letters on the label, nor does it refer to the year Prohibition ended. It refers to your life expectancy if you keep swilling cheap homemade rot gut like Angry Wounded Pride beer. Now, when we make our brew, we throw in whatever's handy. Cake yeast, Cool Whip, window caulking, turpentine, nails, sponges, vanilla extract, a monkey's paw clutching a jewel. And here's our promise. Angry Wounded Pride beer will not make you blind in both eyes. Now try this simple test. Put your glass eye in a bottle of Angry Wounded Pride beer overnight. Now, if it's still boiling up to the top the next morning, you know we made us a pretty darn good batch of this stuff, yes sir. Now I'd like to recommend that you also try Foolish Pride Porter and Selfish Pride Ale, aged 1 and 2 days instead of 17 minutes. Also, I'd like to mention also that I am the wrong hero, brewmaster, entrepreneur, felon. And if you must drink and drive, make sure you give me all your money first. Oh, I'd also like to recommend that you try our other fine products. Stuck in the 60s Incense, Social Outcast Yogurt, Kundalini Yogurt, Death County Yogurt, He-Man Bacon Yogurt, Octogenarian goat herd yogurt, Walt Disney frozen yogurt, starving bohemian cheesecake, pitifully lonely frozen dinners, the all-day life sucker, the perfect master cocktail weenies, gorilla wafers, Madeleine Albright salami, Park Avenue fried bologna, cream of plutonium soup, conspiracy theory peanut butter, you can't make it stick, immortality rice cakes, you won't live forever, but it'll seem like it, false euphoria herbal cocktail, inner city rage potpourri, oppression perfume, horse collar aftershave, Larry Flint cologne, subvert the dominant paradigm MasterCard and Visa, they're a frustrated old man, savings and loan, and from the makers of silly string, silly sand, and silly putty, silly dynamite, silly plastique, and silly galvanite. And finally, before I go, I'd like to recommend that you try our newest product, Destiny Light, 97% fate-free. I'm the wrong hero. Thank you all very much.
If anybody has seen the magic marker, he is getting rather fretful.
Ted's friend.
What?
Did you kill somebody? I want to know. I want to know the truth.
The truth? It was 6 years ago. A guy pulled a gun on my partner and I shot him. I didn't know he was an off-duty cop. Internal Affairs investigated it, ruled it was an accident, okay? I was cleared.
Put your hands together for the rock hero. 1, 2, 3.
Science tells us that it would take 1 hour to describe the thoughts which course through the human mind in a mere 30 seconds. So, I would like for approximately 2 minutes to discuss the thoughts which are coursing through my mind in the space of 1 second. People talking, smelly, not enough light, no sound, more sound, echo, reverb, delay. Help, fleshy human things, meat frightened, meat thirsty, meat want glass of sand. Thank you very much. I'm the wrong hero, but men call me Shay Man. Especially after the show, particularly if the show took place in West Warwick. Is anybody here from West Warwick? Lucky me. They walk up to me and they say, Shay Man, you must have been fucking out of your mind when you thought that shit. This episode of The Wrong Hero is brought to you by Spam Light. Only half the salivary glands and hog eyelids of regular spam. You may have noticed that despite my calm demeanor, I'm actually quite frightened. It's because I know that somewhere out there's a bullet with my name on it. And it's been passing bad checks all over town, and I can't get a credit card. I went up to Bread and Circus on the east side, and I asked them if they had any Granny Smith apples, and they said, please. We prefer to call them Elder Smith apples. And I asked them if they had any mixed nuts, and they said, please, please. Emotionally challenged nuts is what we call them here. Thanks, pal. I think that they should replace poetry readings with poverty readings. That wouldn't be much of a stretch, aspects. And I think they should replace the war on poverty with the war on poetry. And what better way to have somebody enter the mainstream than by outlawing it, right? So you can see some dude up there spouting Shelley. I met a stranger on Auntie. I'll tell you, it would be in the mainstream before you knew it. Something else I wish the government would outlaw is me. I want the government to outlaw me. So I can be sold in front of housing projects for $20 a gram. I'd be like, shake hands with a millionaire. They voted me scapegoat of the year, but now they're persecuting me because I refused to accept the award. Can I level with you for a minute? People have said that I'm my own worst enemy, and I believe them. And that proves it, I guess. Yeah, I put up big posters at work that say, the wrong hero steals office supplies and drinks all the milk from the coffee room and never replaces it.
Tell it like it is.
I'll try. Or as Blanche said in A Streetcar Named Desire, I don't tell the truth, I tell what ought to be the truth. Like about my dad. My dad was a hippie. He used to say stuff like, "Oh, son, I'm going to teach you a lesson I'll never remember." When I was a kid, I used to think that the moon followed me around. Then I realized it was following my dad around because he owed it money. When I was in high school, we had 20 minutes for our lunch break, and we got to play records. But unfortunately, there were two factions of greasers controlling the jukebox. One faction was the sentimental greasers who liked Bobby Vinton and the Hollies and Elton John. And the other faction was the hardcore greasers who liked Edwin Starr and Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. So every lunchtime it was like, she wore, what is it going for? Half a root blue velvet. All I need is the air that I breathe in. Bullet, bullet. Word, bullet. So it was really surrealistic. I got stopped by a policeman on the way over here. I was really late, and Scott Sherm wouldn't even talk to me because I came in late, but I had good reasons because I was stopped by a policeman. He said, why were you speeding? And I said, I just do what the gun tells me to. Whoa, that was a bit of a hold-up. Wah, wah. Hey, garbage collectors in South Sea Hants, United Kingdom, who heard a noise inside of a discarded trash bag liner, found a caged hamster still running on its wheel. You know, I have that feeling all the time. It's called my life. Any Green Bay fans out there? Any of you folks watch the game? Okay, that's 1 out of what, 40? 2.5%. All right, you're golden, brother. You're my golden master. Well, growing up in Western Pennsylvania, of course, we had to endure the Steelers! And you know, all these old Scotch-Irish dudes, you know, the town is run by Scotch-Irish people. They're all sitting around. It sounds like Long John Silver in there. Fire that Terry Bradshaw, showing over at their head top. Sure, and Franco Harris will slap underneath on their fucking throat. Sure, those Island 5, the Green Bay Packers lie. They live in summer for a swamp. You know, and it's like, oh, man. The black and the gold, aye. Do you not get what I say? And I'm wondering, they didn't have football 100 years ago, so did people talk about cowboys in the Old West the same way that the color commentators talk about football? Like, well, Bill Hickok only shot 10 albums last week. He's kind of off the speed in the field of my opinion, because ordinarily he might have shot 10 or 12 or 14 over that week. So, I just don't know. How many of you are fans of the cartoon strip, The Family Circus? I was thinking about this comic strip. It's so wildly popular and successful that they may want to spin it off and have varying versions geared to varying constituencies, like the Militia Family Circus. Dolly. Grandma? How come there's Black History Month, but there's no White History Month? Every month is White History Month. Or the Manson Family Circus. Or the Woodstock Family Circus. Mommy, PJ's throwing his food. That's okay, dear. He's just subverting the dominant paradigm. Or the Satanic Family Circus. Grandpa's ghost told me to throw Jesus down the toilet. You know, speaking of Valentine's Day, there's always tasty half-chewed candies on the corner. My girlfriend gave me one of those out of the blue cards, which is like a brilliant innovation. It's like, no occasion to give a card? Give a card anyway because there's no occasion to give one. In other words, we're going to generate ad revenue from a negation of a product. There's no holiday, give it out of the blue card. So I'm thinking, well, okay, I like anti-Valentine's Day cards for people you don't really like. Like, I'd sooner curl up with a python than to spend the day with you. Or, you are beginning to annoy me because you're evil. Or, loving you is not in my job description. You hear about that 4-hour and 2-minute version of Hamlet that they're coming out with? Has anybody actually seen this yet? Or thought about going to see it? Well, no? Okay, good for you. Because, you know, I had this great idea of Hamlet, right? But the cast would not, there'd be no humans in the cast. It would just be killer cyborgs and exploding rocket ships. And I thought, oh, this is great. And then I thought, oh, the Star Wars trilogy. It's already been done. So I'm thinking instead, you know, 30-second Hamlet. We're pulling on those evil uncle. We're replacing his usual entertainment with a fiendishly clever play within a play. This is revised by a zany nephew. Let's watch. Well, I'm getting older. In about 25 years, I'll qualify for anti-social security. Before I leave here, and could we have some portentous music like the Gorecki stuff here. So, Louie, did you know that the FBI spent 2 years studying the lyrics of Louie to see if there was any subversive content in them? And they failed? Not Louie. James Bond would be great, okay? Such a repertoire these guys have. That's good, yeah. This is called My Advertisement for Life. One thing, a strong interest in something other than commodity fetishism, significant enough so I didn't have to feign a stupefied enthusiasm for bogus pulp and superficial power. A strong interest in something other than commodity fetishism, significant enough so that I didn't have to feel obliged to participate in a pointless ritual of coercive harmony and ceremonies of mindless group faith. Significant enough to give meaning to my otherwise squalid and pointless existence. So that I don't have to undergo psychoanalysis, which is a disease which purports to cure itself, much like alternative law. So I don't have to stand up there and marvel about the psychic imperialism of corporate culture while at the same time selling myself as a commodity. So the roses I make are not really the rattling of a stick in a smell bucket. So the things I do are not merely the actions of a man who is sitting in a sewer and adding to it. Finally, what I would like is a strong interest in something other than advertising, which promises everything, then takes everything away. That would be my advertisement for life. I'm the wrong hero. Thank you all so much.
That little video we saw, there is actually a part 2.
5 or top 6 finish would just about guarantee his exemption for 1998. And when you play the mini tour as long as he has and has Mr. Sutherland, exempt status is very valuable. All right, Rossi, second shot for Kevin.
Now he's got 265. Laid back a little farther than he wanted to, but if he wants to take a shot at it, he can still reach it.
It's so hard in front of this green. I think if he hits a good one and he drives it a little bit, he ought to be able to get it there fairly easily. But the one thing he's thinking about is don't put it out to the right in that bunker that you're looking at. If you do miss in the bunker on the left, because then it's a pretty simple little sand shot, as we just saw Scott Hope get it up.
It's politics. And,
I can just see the poster of Big Lucy. Big Lucy, you know.
all right, as you're well aware, niceness.
Yeah, exactly. It would be...
Smiley face
Well,
totalitarian.
that might actually be more scary now that I think of it.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, disco would be the state-sanctioned music.
And of course, in room 184, they'd force him to smoke pot. It'd be really bad pot. It would be like crappy, like mixed with cut with oregano, just like real shitty pot. And that's like the worst thing in the world that they could do to Winston Smith.
Well, you know, I was thinking 1954. Of course, Big Brother would be Lucille Ball. And, of course, Fred Mertz would be the evil Goldstein character who's constantly threatening to subvert the hegemony of Oceania and its politics. And,
I could just see the poster of Big Lucy. Big Lucy, you know, the poster's just like all over the state, just everywhere you turn, you know. Just that smear.
and instead of, instead of the slogan being ignorance is strength, it would be Ricky. Mix it up a little bit.
What about 1994?
1994, a novel by George Orwell. Oh, gee, Steve Gates, Bill Gates.
That's right. Microsoft is watching.
Bill Gates would be watching if you didn't have better things to do, like try to get America online to work.
But then of course, the 90s are all about the revival of pop mysticism too. This is pop mysticism, so it'd be like, there is no distinction between you and Microsoft. You oppose Microsoft, but you are Microsoft. It'd be
Grasshopper.
it would be that kind of a mindfuck.
So that leaves 1964. Gee, I don't know. The Beatles, of course.
Oh my God, yes. John is watching you. He's bigger than Jesus.
And
Big Brother is bigger than Jesus. Or at least he sells more records.
yeah, right.
Oh, in fact, Janis Joplin was with Big Brother, the Big...
Yes, Big Brother and the Holding Company.
That's right.
In fact, they got their start in like 1965 in San Francisco. So, yeah, it would be all this love is compulsory type thing, you know?
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it'd be a real rave. 1944. Well, duh. I mean, Winston Churchill.
That's when he wrote it, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, 1904.
1904.
Big Stick is watching you.
Yeah, William Randolph Hearst.
Oh, yeah, he ran for president that year, you know?
That's right.
And he didn't do too well, but who knows? He might have tipped the balance.
Wow.
He was a liberal back then. You know, he did tip the balance towards FDR. I guess he had some sort of feud going with Al Smith. And in 1932, he helped FDR get the nomination. A fact which he never let Frankie forget.
I think my history's getting a little, maybe getting out of chronological order here, but I think 1894, Winston Smith would have ended up crucified on that cross of gold that they kept talking about.
Yeah, William Jennings Bryan.
William Jennings, yeah.
And Upton Sinclair was still in knee pants. Well, gee, if it weren't a little too early, 1934 would be Frank Sinatra. We want Frankie.
Old Blue Eyes is watching you.
Yes, and did you know that one time, so a bunch of Frank Sinatra teenage fanatics were like all hovering around this swank New York restaurant. Out walks this incredible celebrity, Harry Truman, the President of the United States, and they all said, we wanted Frankie.
I'll tell you a true story about Frankie, a little more recent. You know Harlan Ellison, the science fiction writer? Well, he and my dad used to be friends, and they're still acquainted. And he told us this story that Harlan went into a pool hall, and he was wearing these alligator skin boots, and he was playing pool somewhere. And Sinatra and some of his distinguished gentlemen friends were with him. And he didn't like Harlan's boots, and he had his boys throw Harlan out of the pool hall. They went over and said, Mr. Sinatra doesn't like your boots. He'd like it if you would leave, or something like that. In fact, they did it very politely, but it was very clear that Harlan had to leave. That's a true story.
That is so weird, because, Frank Sinatra saved my life.
He did.
Yes. There I was in an alley being beaten half to death by two thugs. Up walks Frank Sinatra and says, okay, boys, he's had enough. Actually, that's a story that's told in Earl Wilson's biography of Frank Sinatra. And,
Happened to him too.
oh, yeah, geez, Frank's the listen, Frank Sinatra, really, I mean, when you think about dominant personalities in the 20th century, I mean, he's got Big Brother to be all hollow. I mean,
It's true.
really, and his mother. Did you read that biography by Kitty Kelly?
I didn't read it.
He must have been scheming because on page 3, it says, Dolly Sinatra was an abortionist by trade. The first page, I mean, God knows what he must have been thinking. Like,
Skip the salad and get right to the meat. Jeez.
yeah, well, it caught my attention, that's for sure.
But I think it seems like the common denominator here with all these different versions of 1984 is that they all seem to be music oriented, especially as you get to the 60s, 70s, and the 90s. It's very, very pop music oriented.
Well, it's funny, yeah, the balance swings from politics to music, somewhere in the 30s. Did you know, yeah, and in fact, the exact date that this happened was 1932, when Herbert Hoover, then president, was at the Chicago ballpark, and he was there to throw out the first ball, and all of a sudden everybody stood up and cheered, and he thought they were cheering for him. He looks over, it's the Boy Scouts, and they're cheering for Al Capone. And that's when he decided to start a vendetta against Al Capone. I might have the year slightly wrong.
You know something? Let's have some more fun with Tom's prop. This is such a versatile thing.
Stand over towards the light.
Shout out a number between 1 and 10. 10. 10 uses of this prop. Try to break it up now. But I'm going to cheat. I'm going to count the first one, which was Darth Vader's lung.
Yep.
First one.
Darth Vader's lung.
Second one.
Intergalactic harmonica. Intergalactic accordion.
Okay, here's another one. This is number 3, right?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. NASA's underfunded. We can only build a spacesuit one piece at a time.
We can only build a spacesuit one piece at a time.
Oh, here we have a picture of one of Dr. Fu Manchu's lovely courtesans.
Dr. Fu Manchu's courtesan.
That was 4. Oh,
That was 4. Stop at 5 and I'll do the last 5.
oh, there you go. Welcome to Algernon's Moonshine Jumpman. Oh, it's full.
Algernon's Moonshine Jug Band. Oh, he's going for 6, folks.
Yes, we have Imelda Marcos's engagement ring right here, folks.
Imelda Marcos's engagement ring.
Let's see. Is that 6 or 7?
6.
6? Oh, jeez. Okay, it's time to shoot. Where's the cow? Where's the cow? We got the trampoline all set up. Where's the cow? All right, number 7.
No, that was number 7. You're on number 8. You're on number 8.
Let's see. 8. Yes, the government is producing ducks in a lovely array of fashionable colors. Our ducks come in wonderful clear. They also come in puce, fuchsia, and maroon.
Novelty ducks.
Yo, what's up, G? What's up? Okay, number 10.
Wrap accessory.
Number 10, folks. This were a real show. I wouldn't hesitate this long. Okay. Number 10. Dear
And that's Algernon with the 10 uses of this. And now, the wrong hero in his civilian identity will attempt 10 uses of this thing.
Oh, you're going to do 10. All right. All right.
Be careful, don't try to, like, horror nation, there's something wrong with this here telescope here.
Number 1.
Which was left to Uncle Sam?
Number 2.
Don't settle for second, last game.
That was 3.
You settle me to squander, him no good.
That was 4. Number 5.
We are entering another dimension of space and time.
Number 6.
Number 5.
That was number 5, but now we'll see number 6.
On behalf of our client, King Kong, we would like to complain about this nipple we used to. Okay.
Number 7.
Number 7. That's a tough one. Let's see. Yeah, I drive the baddest 18-wheeler on the road. When little cars get in my way, expand the wheel.
Number 8.
Number 8. Let's see. I'm Princess Leia, but the hairdresser really did a lousy job.
Number 9.
Number 9?
This is number 9. Number 9.
Oh my God. Yeah, man. Those pussies with their little nose rings. Got the biggest nose rings we're talking about.
And finally,
Finally,
number 10.
number 10. You got me. What'd you shoot me with, a howitzer?
Beautiful. 20 uses for Tom Hurdle's prop.
For Tom Hurdle's thing. Presented by the magnificent Algernon. Well, of course, as we know, 1984 actually took place in 1984. Now, if Orwell were actually alive in 1984, and he knew what we knew, who do you suppose Big Brother would have been? I mean, Reagan is the obvious answer, but even with our theme of entertainers as totalitarian brutes,
I think he might have fixated on Dick Clark.
Dick Clark, yeah.
Yes.
The world's oldest man. He'll be there in the year.
For a reason.
You know, he introduced the year 2525 by Zager and Evans on the air.
Really?
That's because he expected to be around in the year 2525. You know,
I have no doubt he will be.
the fountain of youth. Well, what do you suppose Dick's secret is?
He's on a drip. He's on a formaldehyde drip. That explains his strange skin color as well as the fact that he's so well preserved.
Maybe he's animatronic.
That could be too.
You know, fisting off with the Disney people. Think of the acts that this man has broke. Chubby Checker, you know, because some other, I think it was Bo Diddley, he didn't show up. So he gets Ernest Evans and says, let's see, his fat's going on, we'll call you Chubby Checker. Get on out there, Chub. And Chubby made his big hit. And
Disney reminds me. I'm expecting a Moscow Disney World to open up any day now. This is why. I think the Soviet Union and Disney have a lot in common. They both preserve the bodies of their leaders.
yes.
And both refuse to describe the processes by which they preserve their leaders. Disney won't even admit that they've got Walt's body. But you know he's there. He's under, that's been a rumor for years, that he's in a coffin, frozen in cryogenic sleep underneath Cinderella's castle or something like that.
Probably on a train that was continuously around so if the Soviets bomb us, they'll miss him, you know? The MX frozen Disney.
I believe that there's something there. It might even be the same process.
Well, yeah, also, you say bad things about Walt Disney, bad things tend to happen to you, just like the Soviet Union.
It's really strange.
Yeah, like the Stalinization of commodities under Stalin, the Disneyfication of commodities under Disney. You know, everything's cute. Realistically cute. Mickey Mouse, Big Ears, we're going to Disney World. You're going to Siberia. We're going to Disney World. The parallels are just so obviously there. Nobody has thought this. And where did Khrushchev want to go when he visited the United States? Where? Disneyland! And they wouldn't let him. And he said to them sneeringly, why? Do you have some sort of secret weapon system there? You know, and it was like, no, we can't be sure of your safety. You know,
Safety,
it's like,
hell.
oh yeah, like, you know, giant rat! I am insane!
pondered.
Have you seen the Mad Magazine parody of Disney that got them in so much trouble? Back in like 1953, they had this thing called Mickey Rodent.
Oh, I saw, yeah.
You've seen that?
My dad, I didn't read the magazine, but my dad has the paperback books of the old Mad Magazine. I remember Mickey Rodent.
Don was sitting in what looks like a puddle of his own vomit, but which is actually some water. Because they couldn't get away with that in 1953. And he was saying to himself, every time I see Minnie Mouse, I think of a giant rat, a rat 10 times bigger than the biggest mouse, wearing lipstick and high heels. And every time I think of that, I get sick. And he's sitting there in his curved. That's not the one that really got in trouble, though. The one that really got in trouble was the parody of Archie. Because John Goldwater, who was the head of Archie Comics, put in the Comics Code Authority, which he was the guy behind all that. And Mad had become a big, slick, glossy magazine, and all their horror titles folded because they wouldn't pass the code. They didn't even want to bother trying with all that hysteria. So, and you know, Archie was based on the real life of a teenager in central Massachusetts in the early 1940s. And that's why Jughead still wears that stupid spiked belt hat with the buttons on it. That was a popular adolescent fad in the late 1930s, and he's still wearing that. And God knows what those little check marks are. They're probably, you get a microscopic close-up, it's probably a secret map of the Soviet Union.
Or it could just be as simple as that was when he tried to cut his own hair. Most of the time, it never grew back right.
Or easy to draw.
Or his dad was part of a secret society and everyone in the family had to... He never even saw other people in his family.
Archie and the Masons, an archaeological excavation. Yeah, well, you know, that's just it. What if a future race sees Archie comics? That's the only artifact left from the 20th century. You know, everybody drove in old jalopies, and there was only one eligible male in the entire town. And he was always going out with two women at the same time. He seems not to have been a monogamous society. And all the evil people had black hair and were named Reggie. The lodges, you know, the lodges were based on real people. All those people were supposed to be based on real people. What's with Jughead? Not interested in girls, obsessive eating. You know, I mean, what was he, the frugal gourmet 50 years before his time?
I gotta go.
See you later. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for talking to me.
Culture.
Wonderful, Francis. Likes lies.
Well, that was something a little different. We actually managed to use up 20 minutes of our precious time here on Cafe Cabaret, doing something vaguely constructive instead of just panning the crowd. And there's not enough light here, really, to show the logo, but I'm going to try anyway. Maybe if I paste it onto something that has a light source nearby. I really am sorry about how these cameras have been kind of clapping out on us lately. I've had to do a bunch of overdubs and stuff. You know, video dubs over existing video, audio dubs over existing video, in order to continue to bring this fine show to you folks in the big city. But that's okay. Anyway, I should say, this is Cafe Cabaret. You are tuned to our Cabaret of the Oddly Normal presentation, which we try to bring you at least once a month. That might become problematic in the months to come, but we'll see what we can do.
Wind not a factor right now. Shot. I think that might have had a little something to do with where Blackmar is. I can't believe that Blackmar's ball rolled that far. That was a layup, you know, from Phil. And I guess that's what the adrenaline does to you when you can hit it that far.
But he has an almost impossible shot here to stop it on the green, don't you think, coming out of the rough?
I think you'll shoot it over to the left myself, Curtis. Yeah, he has not a great lie. He just has 110 yards to the hole.
Well, obviously, you know, you can't be short because of the wall, but long is no bargain either, but he has to go long.
That is long left. Oh. 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 Well, that was certainly a little bit clumsy.
So he took me to court. accused of not tampering with it. Superman was the prosecuting attorney. That was a drag. Members of the jury, he's lying. I can tell his heartbeat is beating at an accelerated rate, which I can detect with my super hearing. Maybe he put his heat vision on me to make me sweat when I was on the witness stand. What a bastard. And like the defense attorney was no help. The court-appointed lawyer, it was Aquaman. Every hour on the hour, he would run out and dunk his head in a bowl of water and he'd die. Well, clearly, it's been framed in spite of the fact that he has a Braille bumper sticker on his truck. He sticks his head in like, excuse me, I gotta cut out for a minute, man. I hate to like cut out on you like this, Your Honor, but I'm starting to feel kind of draggy. And then the judge was Bruce Banner, right? And it looked like I was gonna get off, but then right in the middle of the sentencing, he turned into the Hulk. It was like, clearly the extenuating circumstances. That really sucks. Well, the wrong here is brought to you by Elvis Wine. It's the wine Elvis would have drank if Elvis drank wine. Oh, and by the way, we're pulling Jesus on the cross. We're replacing his usual vinegar sponge with Folgers crystals. Let's watch. Father, forgive them, they know what they do. Into thy hands I commend my spirit. I'm thirsty, I'm not thirsty. Well, hey, you know that marijuana initiative that's passing? Let's see. California, Arizona, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Missouri, the entire land. But they're going too far with this new store. They got the store up in Lincoln Mall. Hey, all right. You have taken my picture now. You must be sacrificed. They have this new store up in Lincoln Mall. It's called Timothy Leary's Crazy World of LSD. It's like, you walk in there, and it's like, excuse me, can you help me? It's like, how much is that REG? 30 cents. How much is that piece of mint? $1 million. Can you tell me what time it is? 25 o'clock. Can I speak to your manager? That was no fun. Hey, have you guys ever been to New Orleans? Or Orleans, as they call it down here. Orleans. I went down there and I heard this street guy, and he kept on like following me around the French Quarter. Maybe, he preys on tourists who have one eye the size of a pinprick and the other the size of a dinner plate, I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy, feet on the table. So he comes out and he goes, don't leave me, dog, don't leave me. And, he saw I was carrying a six-pack of beer, but I was cheap and it was the world's worst beer. It was called, oh, I got to tell you, this guy, he had 2 teeth on his upper gums and 3 teeth on his bottom, and the first thing I thought of when I saw him was, I'm going to have to play that number. But he's like, I'm carrying a 6-pack of beer. Hey, you want one? Sure. Oh, wait a minute. That's koi beer. years old. Daddy, I was stung by a bee. Why wasn't it an egg? So I don't know about having kids. It's like kids demand your constant attention. It's like, look at me, 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 look at me. Well, I pulled from there. But you know, and I'm like, no, look at me. I don't know, I want to get into that whole parents thing, because like, they have these horrible arguments. You know how terrifying it is for a 4-year-old to hear his parents say stuff like, don't you see that kid? When I came in this morning, he was eating baby aspirin like it was candy. He was frying an egg on the stove. Well, what's wrong with that? In my shoe. And he's like, no, the things we say to our kids, the things our parents say to us, like, all right, youngster, stop those shenanigans. I was like, what am I, fucking Italian leprechaun here? Oh, so much shenanigans for you. You know, it's like, I'll let you in the shoe. You know, it's like, where do they come up with these words? Butcher a lot of guys and sucker, gold breaker. And their notions of what a kid likes, like what is entertaining to a kid, it's always like 30 years out of date. Oh, you'll like this book, it's called Cat the Brain. But Dad, I'm 14 years old, you know? It's like, say, son, you want to go to the circus? Oh yeah, great, the circus. So I go watch Ringmasters, fucking whips it, British chain of sticks. That's great, man. You know, it's like you watch manic depressive clowns falling off their unicycles with whiskey breath. They can watch chimpanzees play handball, their own shit. Yeah, the circus, great place to take a kid, man. A real education in itself. I think the way I got the way I thought is because one Halloween I used to live in the housing projects, and one Halloween I dressed up as Superman. Now that's a real good way to get the shit beat out of you. Believe me. It's like, yo, Superman! You know, it's like, hey, Superman, why don't you fly away? Black kryptonite, weak, can't use syntax. You know, unless you're born in Flash outfit. Oh, and you know, it's just, you can tell I'm a lonely kid, because I used to go to the library and listen to this record of the Telltale Heart, the story by Edgar Allan Poe, where the record had a big scratch in it, you know? So it was like, the story really goes, Drew, nervous, very nervous. So all he used to have is making legal on sentences. They had sharpened, they had not dull, but it was big skin, and so when Drew, nervous, but what is so he walked down the street going, Drew, nervous. Another way to get the shit beat out of you. Walking down the street, get stopped by the cop. Why are you speaking true? Well, thank you all for your kind attention. I'm the Rock Hero, and this presentation was brought to you by Jesus Beer. The beer Jesus would have turned the water into if Jesus had turned the water into beer. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by for another short film.
Playoffs in the Shell Houston Open.
Again, not taking much time, Curtis.
Not much here, just straight up the hill, good solid putt.
So Blackmar has 2 PGA Tour wins. Both came in playoffs. They both started 10 under. They are both 12 under par. And it's back to 18 for the beginning of the playoffs.
And what a good finish, Mike, because they both played so well. You didn't want to see one player give it away. They both made good putts on the last hole.
Well, without further ado, we have a special song that we prepared for you, which we'll do a little later on. But right now, I'd like to take the time to bring to the stage the Wrong Hero.
This is a message for the children. Kids, stay in school, because we don't want you around here. You know, when I was a kid, I have it all planned. I'm going to go to the hospital. They'll hand me my newborn baby, wrapped in swaddling clothes. The nurse will hold this precious bundle of joy and hand it to me. I'll say to her, "Don't bother wrapping it, I'll eat it here." I'd like to read you a poem. I wrote it today and I haven't finished it yet. It's called, I'd like to read you a poem. I wrote it today and I haven't finished it yet. And it goes, I'd like to read you a poem. I wrote it today and I haven't finished it yet. I go to the big and tall men's shop. I'm sorry, the big and tall men's shop. Because, you know, I put on a little weight, but don't call me fat. Don't say that you weigh more than 20% of your ideal weight and therefore medically you are clinically obese. No, I would prefer that you refer to me as pathologically husky. If you would be so kind. And maybe one of the reasons I put on so much weight is that not only am I the wrong hero, hi Skipper, nice hat, nice t-shirt. Is that real tie-dye? Cool. Some call me the wrong hero, but others call me the Amir of indolence. The most exalted potentate of slack. The sultan of sloth. Because my motto is, I think I can. Fail. You know, I've been in jail a couple of times. Or, as we hardened criminals refer to it, stir. My cellmate was Charlie Manson. There wasn't much to talk with him about. Like, Charlie, nice X. Who did your swastika? Can I get one just like it? It's gear. See, Charlie's kind of a 60s kind of guy, you know. You can't really get too advanced with him. He's kind of temperamental. And I trace my prison career back to my childhood. You see, I grew up on an Indian reservation. We used to play cowboys. And more fucking cowboys! Kids beat me up on the way to school. That's pretty depressing. Especially when you're 39 years old. And their teacher. Yeah, it was a bad neighborhood. We had animal crackers, but they were inner city animal crackers. Rats, pigeons, ago, I boxed in the Golden Gloves, but it got pretty stuffy in there. You know, we didn't talk about whether Heraclitus or Lao Tzu was the greater philosopher in my neighborhood. We didn't, compare Heidegger and Kant. No, we talked about, like, really cerebral stuff, like, if Sugar Bear and Yogi Bear got into a fight, who would win? Sugar in 2. Now, if Sugar Bear and Smokey the Bear got into a fight, who would win? Smokey, 10 seconds. Like that. And if Jesus fought the Justice League of America, who would win? Well, let's say he had the 11 apostles, the 12 apostles with him, just to even things up a little bit. Could be, but I think Jesus would turn Aquaman's blood into wine, and that would put him out of business. And all in all, the rest of the apostles would be pretty useless in a fight like that. But I don't know. I think they'd have a pretty fair chance. Well, we think about stuff like this, like Jesus and the 11 apostles action figures, Judas sold separately, stuff like that. We used to go to the laundromat. That's a real class marker for you. Like middle class, regular people, they have their own washers and dryers, but poor people, they go to the laundromat, or students, or itinerant people, or people without families, or people without any friends or connections to anything remotely human or convivial go to laundromats. And it's kind of sad, especially when you see the guy stuffing the 60 pounds of clothing in the 30-pound dryer, and he's lonely, so he puts his dog in there just to keep him company. It's like, kind of fun to watch, actually. I went to my high school reunion. I went to see where I had carved my initials years ago. But the gym coach was wearing a toupee. Yet another disappointment. By the way, until this moment, I haven't been known as the wrong hero, but from now on, I want you to start calling me the wrong X. Because hero is my slave name. So, how was your April 19th? April 19th is a new holiday. It's called Conspiracy Day. And it's like, all the real conspiracy theorists stay home. It's like New Year's Eve. All the amateurs come out on April 19th. All the, people with the atomic bombs, the plutonium, and the satchels, they stay home on that day. It's just not cool. So, it's all the amateurs with the firecrackers when the presidential motorcade goes by, and the cherry bombs down the toilet in the United Nations on April 19th. Well, it looks like Greg, Jenna, and Tom Hurdle are having a pretty cozy little conversation back there. Say, fellas. How you doing? Nice turtleneck. Yes, indeed. Well, what they don't tell you is about the real conspiracies. No, wait, first of all these conspiracy kooks dressed in camouflage, doing their rifle practice out there, don't they realize that the real conspiracy is the military-industrial complex, and that they're playing into their hands by buying all that freeze-dried food and substocking their bomb shelters, and another conspiracy they never talk about. Well, by all means, feel free, but when the spirit strikes you, another conspiracy theory that they never talk about is farmers. Hey! Control! Good nations! Food supply! Kill! Farmers! And kill Quakers, too. Because they won't fight back. And kill the Amish. Because they wear these funny little beards and they say the and thou, and they don't believe in wristwatches and automobiles. What kind of traitors, freaks are these? I say kill them! If I had a hammer, the word that always pops up. The magic of Disney, right? Like the miracles of Jesus, the magic of Disney. I know, I'm not really going anywhere with this, but just consider, what does Mickey Mouse stand for? MIC, Military Industrial Complex. KEY, Keynesian Economic Yoke. MOUSC, more of United States engulfment. There's a few more things that really bug me. People who say, I was told. Well, I was told I could drive the wrong way down this one-way street. It's like, what are you, a mindless robot having no autonomous will of your own? I was told I could do this. Or you're working in a store and they say, where's the bathroom? Do you know? I've only been working here 8 years. No, I do not know where the bathroom is. When I interact with the shit, I just leave a load in my diaper and spray room freshener around. And people who don't say what they mean, like when they say interesting, what did you think of my set? It was interesting. It sucked. What did you really think of my set? It was different. It really sucked. Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, Phil. And I can see why. Stick a couple of round ears on there. And
your band is good.
they're not my band. All right, I'll wrap it up then. I just can't help but cause trouble no matter where I go. I went to Mount Washington, and John Quincy Adams had me arrested for sedition. Well, enough with the negative stuff. Why can't you talk about the stuff that you like? Okay, I'm going to tell you the 3 things about America that make America great. Number 1, they have antacids that you can eat before you stuff yourself like a glutton, so that you don't get the heartburn that you're going to get before you stuff yourself. Number 2, you give alcoholic bums a cigarette on the street. Only in America do they tear the filter off. It's not good enough for me the way you gave it to me. I have to customize it. And finally, America is a great melting pot. It's the only place where you can get pot that's so great that you feel like you're melting. If I had one wish, it would be to create a horde of minions in my image who, whenever somebody did something I didn't like, would come up to their door and say, are you the guy that does those commercials where the Italian people are so stupid they don't realize that the salad dressing is not, in fact, a store-bought salad dressing, but, in fact, was made by the Italian grandmother or vice versa? Yeah, that was me. Cut it out. The hero doesn't like it. Thank you.
Be seated. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor.
Bailiff, collect the verdict. the defendant please rise? We, the jury, find the defendant, Laurencia Ben-Benick, guilty of murder in the first degree. Order! Order, please. Order in this court, please. It is the sentence of this court that you, Laurencia Ben-Benick, will serve a term of life imprisonment in the Taichida Correctional Institution. This court is adjourned.
Stay tuned for more of The Wrong Hero, Slowly but Surely, live at AS220, Volume 6. Joe, who are you talking to? Where'd you get that purdy hat? It looks like Elijah Muhammad, you know. Allah speaks. It's a great hat. Really wonderful. Where'd you get it?
My girlfriend gave it to me.
Oh, okay. My girlfriend did. That's wonderful. That's what Charlie Manson said, you know. Where'd you get that cross on your forehead, Charlie? My girlfriend gave it to me. I gotta stay in prison, work on my website. So anyway, I'm thinking churches are always in need of money, so maybe they should like put little ads, sell ad space on it. Maybe. Maybe they can sell ad space on the communion wafers. You know, nothing tacky or tasteless like, thirsty, oh God, are you thirsty? Try some Mountain Dew. No, nothing like that. Something dignified and sedate in keeping with the nature of the holy rituals of the church. Like, I don't know, Donald Duck orange juice maybe with Donald's beaming face on the wafer. And if the kids aren't hungry, they can take it home and play frisbee with it or something. Or, I don't know, maybe they could put an ad for Pete's Wicked Ale or something. The one beer St. Peter would have drank if St. Peter drank beer. Or maybe some in-house stuff. You know, like Shroud of Turin toilet paper, or, say, Catholics, tired of worshiping the Pope in Rome? Why don't you try Pope Light? Pope Light, slimmer than the fat pontiffs. Catholics worship. Or, St. Pagans, tired of painting your bodies blue and worshiping oak trees? Why don't you try Catholicism? Gives you three gods in one. Ooh. Holidays. The holidays have come and gone. You know, holidays are a time to think about the family, the folks you left behind, if you're lucky. Yeah, it was only yesterday, but it seems like years and years ago. When we grew up, in my family, we were poor, but we were unhappy. We were so poor, we lived in a granite quarry. We used to eat quartz. I'm still shitting amethyst. I used to go next door, right? Yeah, that's right. Living in a lap of luxury. I used to go next door and say, can I borrow a cup of paste? Never mind a cup, I'll eat it here. You know, it was a bad neighborhood. Like, they didn't have Pepto-Bismol, they had Klepto-Bismol. And the place was called Tor, because the junkies stole the drugs off the sign, you know? It's like, my father, God bless him and keep him, because I don't want to. You know, he was a mechanic, he was an alcoholic mechanic. He used to go to AAA meetings. He was strong. He could crush a Hyundai in his fist when he was 3 years old. Of course, any kid can crush a Hyundai in their fist. That's not saying much. And you know, he'd start moaning about how poor we were, and he'd say, you know, things were better back in the old country. And I'm like, the old country? What are you talking about, you nitwit? You came from Central Falls. You used to live on smack and Schlitz. That's an ice cream flavor for you. Like, when you were dating Mom, you invite her out for an exotic meal, and you go to the Ocean State job lot, you have her shoplift a can of Spanish peanuts, you eat it in the parking lot. That was your idea of a big night out on the town. But I will say one thing to that man. He gave me my first pet dog. Yeah, I know, isn't that sweet? It was a good dog. I don't want to hear anything bad about my dog. He was a good dog. He tasted like a beetle. We got another dog. We decided to call it God. We had a special God whistle, only he could hear. My mother had this cat. She used to dote on it. She'd run the house to suit the cat. Bowls of cream everywhere, dead mice in the baby's crib. She had a captive mouse over my little sister's crib. That way, when the cat was was finished sucking the breath out of baby, we got a little snack, you know? It was good, she was good that way. Now, every time my doggy saw me, he'd jump for joy. That's because he knew I was fixing to put a bouillon cube in the toilet bowl. Sort of like doggy lemonade. You ever been to Wanscott Park? It's up by Route 146 up on Woodward Road. I used to take a dog up there and he'd be sniffing at all the trees where all the other dogs had pissed. Sort of like the canine equivalent of surfing the internet. Well, you know, the dog and the cat, they had a baby. We called it Matt. When we put it in front of the door, people would walk in the house and they'd hear this, like, oh God, I'm so depressed. Well, because it's Easter, we had a big blizzard, seasonal affective disorder, attention deficit, you know, all that stuff. It's just crawling in on me. Anyway, let me finish telling you about the dog. The dog was voracious. It ate a whole bottle of baby aspirin. We took it to the hospital, had its stomach pumped. There was all this stuff in its stomach, beer caps, whiskey corks, a crushed Hyundai, a monkey's paw clutching a jewel. Really something. Dog had an enormous appetite. He'd eat right out of your hand. He'd eat right out of your foot, too, if you let him. Anyway, he turned on me. You know how it is with dogs, they turn on you. Well, actually, he took me to small claims court. The Judge Wapner presided. He was awarded 2 boxes of dog biscuits and a package of sausages for emotional suffering. Well, you know, something very special happened. The dog turned 21 recently. That's 3 in human years. Well, to mark the occasion, we decided to give him his own birthday party. We gave him a cake with candles, and as a special treat, because he was 21, we gave him his very first beer. And you know, that dog got so excited, he ate the cake, he ate the candles, he set the house on fire. We live in the forest now. And you know something? That damn dog still eats better than we do. One time I came into the house and the dog was licking its balls, and I said to my dad, gee, I sure wish I could do that. And my father said, get to know him first. Well, I hope you've gotten to know me a little better. Maybe not quite that well. I'd like to thank you all very much for not hurting me. Or my dog. I'm the wrong hero, been I?
Concludes Cafe Cabaret, more or less. I guess I've got a special surprise treat for you here. I guess it's a political thing,
so that we'll be reasonably up to date with things that are going on. It's one of those end of the evening special little filler items. And you know, I'm a completist. I sort of more or less feel obliged to include everything humanly possible. So anyway, here it is, more or less, as it were, so to speak.
Good night, Francis. Have a good vacation. You get your degree in library science. Please put an application in for the afternoon so I can get rid of my tyrannical boss. I'll try. Is that taking me, say? Yes. Oh, you gotta erase that. That said everything. You gotta erase that. No one's ever gonna see it. No. I could accidentally get out. Please, back that up and get rid of it. I'm sorry. You can't do that. No, it'll totally disrupt the continuity. It's okay, isn't it? You can't leave that out there. If I say, yeah, leave that out there. You shouldn't say things when there's a camera on. No. Forget what he just said. Yes. He said he didn't say that, so. Anyway. Oh, you're getting the White House? Yeah, I'm getting the White House. You see, Carly Simon said that the chief executive of the United States is the first president who enjoys the same music as she does. And it's like, wow, I didn't know that Carly Simon's musical taste was a standard of excellence here in the United States. And, you know, it's funny because, I mean, what would Bill Clinton have done if he hadn't become president? More importantly, what's he going to do after he's been president? I mean, you know, once you've been president, where do you go from there? Will he, like, take a job as a janitor in the White House in order to keep his hand in politics? You know? Oh, yes, I like sweeping up these NSC memos. It reminds me of back when I had the nuclear football. It's just so weird. Like, he's also the only president who gets entrapped into sleazy assignations with raccoon-haired floozies. You know, you don't see Eisenhower running around, you know, having a gay old time as president of Colombia with you know, any shapely co-eds. So, I mean, I guess Bill Clinton is really the first president in a lot of ways to do a lot of things. Like, he's the first president to read books. I'll go back and erase it. I will. I could accidentally, exactly. Okay, I will go back and erase it. This prick will fire me for sure if he hears this. Yeah, and the thing is, you know, I know exactly where it is. I'll put it all right. Well, yeah, it's in front of this thing. Yeah, it looks even better now that it's kind of smudged and wrinkled, doesn't it? Yes, indeed, it does. Okay, well, I should say that as a word of art. What is? You should, actually. Yeah, I will. Why the hell not? It's what? Why not? Well, then take it to where you work. Anyway, it'll be forever. It'll be forever a part of the American psychic landscape, that slightly smudged and somewhat charred replica of the White House. But where was I? Oh yeah, Paula Jones. You know, they have her quoted on the subject of on the cover of Newsweek from about a week or so back, saying, "I want him to own up to what he's done." And it's like, you know, that's not what she actually said. She probably said something like, no, she said, actually, no, on the cover of Newsweek, she said, I want him to admit what he's done. And she didn't actually say that. She said, I want him to own up to it. I want him to own up to it. So, you know, I mean, okay, so he's the first president who enjoys blowjobs. I mean, you know, that's a real first. I mean, and he's the first president to have a vice president who is probably, I don't want to say anything bad about Al Gore, but they sort of complement each other, you know? The ebullient Bill Clinton, ready and willing to give his opinion on virtually any topic under the sun, and the dour, has a sense of humor only in private, Al Gore, who, of course, there's all sorts of stories about ethical improprieties with Al Gore as well. And that should be interesting come the year 2000. Now, you know, the year 2000, it's never too early to start talking about the year 2000. Like, who's going to run? George Bush's son. That should be great, huh? Like, George Bush, he's back, and he has even fewer qualifications than his father. I don't know what to say. I don't think Christine Whitman's going to be really in the running. Now, Dan Quayle's thinking about a run. And, you know, he says, well, you know, I know that the media vultures are going to, you know, snipe at me, but I'm used to it. That's their job. That's what they do. Nobody's going to take them seriously. Oh, I don't think so. Maybe only about 40 million Americans will. movement about Dan Quayle has got a bum rap. I mean, how you can get so high up in politics that no matter how stupid you are, people think you're great because you got that high up in politics, and you could have done it without, sucking up to someone somewhere. So you can't be that dumb, right? Wrong. I mean, look who he was the vice president to. George Bush, right? George Bush. I mean, say what you will about the man. I mean, he does parachute jumps with the assistance of 4 Army paratroopers, albeit. However, he does do it. He did fight in the war. He was a veteran. He has got a lot of accomplishments under his belt. Whether they were good or bad remains for history to judge. But I mean, if all it takes to become vice president is to suck up to George Bush, I mean, that's not really much of an accomplishment when you really come right down to it. He's a guy that makes George Bush's shameless, pandering, look like amateur night, obviously. George Bush kind of wanted to shore up his right wing. I mean, he sort of alienated the right wing back in 1980 when he said that, he was pro-choice, and then he alienated the left wing when he said that he believed in a winnable nuclear war. So, I mean, he had to go and make a real statement, somebody for the right-wingers to rally around, and the left-wingers to really rally against. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, that kind of idea. Well, if the liberals hate Quayle so much, you must be doing something right. That's just the sort of backward, cockeyed, upside-down thinking that virtually characterizes extremist groups. They have this sort of, upside-down land logic. Like, look at the militia movement, It's like, big government's bad, and private enterprise is obviously good, although insofar as they participate in collude with big government, they are bad as well. And in fact, you can't trust anybody except the local sheriff. And to the degree that he cooperates with the law-keeping authorities, he too is suspect. I mean, there's something to that. I mean, every extremist group has one theory that kind of holds water, and they sort of rally around, but then they have this one theory that stands out like a shining beacon of logic and rationality, and then they construct this entire backwards world around it, and it's just really kind of nutty. Now, people have often accused Bill Clinton of not really believing in anything except his own re-election. And now that he's being re-elected, what's he going to do? Try to make his name in foreign policy. That should be a laugh. That'd be a real blast. Literally. We've been sort of numbed into this state of quiescence concerning the Russians because, the empire is disintegrated and the nuclear weapons are no longer pointed at us, but in some ways the times are more dangerous than ever before. As we approach the millennium, Bill would not have been my first choice for the position of, say, Secretary of State, but see, he's the de facto, if not de jure, Secretary of State right now. I mean, he really controls the whole 9 yards. He's, insofar as the United States is dominant in world affairs, Bill Clinton is at the head of the United States in that regard. And what exactly, how exactly does being governor of Arkansas qualify you to be leader of the free world? I mean, that's sort of like a flea deciding that he's a pachyderm all of a sudden. And it's kind of odd and irregular, to say the least. So, there's just so much, We're accused of taking money, the Democrats accused of taking lobbying money from the Chinese nationals, and it's like, China, and all the conservative journals, they're like, Russia good, China bad, and like maybe, 25 years ago it was the other way around. It was like, Russia bad, China maybe, iffy. But we'll see what they do in Hong Kong. That should be fun. Will the last capitalist to leave Hong Kong please turn out the lights? So no, he just remember Tiananmen Square. Now, I'm not the only person who's made this argument, but maybe the Chinese are better under communism. I mean, the trouble is, it's too late for that. I mean, once they've tasted the joy of capital goods and whatnot, I mean, they're going to want all the same stuff, and it's just not sustainable. I don't care what you say. You may be one of those people that say, oh, I don't believe in global warming. Look at how cold it's been lately. That's the kind of logic that belongs, strictly speaking, to a, I don't know, Paleolithic man or something. It just doesn't hold water, scientifically speaking. I mean, yeah, sure, there's global warming. I mean, it's a proven fact. Okay, so maybe it's like a fraction of a degree every year, but even that can wreak havoc. They say the little ice age in the in the early dark ages, like from I don't know, the year 800 to the year 1300 or whatever it was, 1100 to 1300. They said that was charged. So that was caused by a drop in temperature of only 2 degrees. And so, even if the temperature's not going to drop 2 degrees for another 40 years or so, I mean, that's something to think about. And they also say, well, these ice ages are characterized by, great amounts of time. They don't take place immediately. They take place gradually over centuries or even millennia. But again, science is more or less discovered, at least some scientists claim, that this global warming or a new ice age or whatever, however it's going to turn out. I mean, these things don't happen over the course of centuries. They can happen in the space of 20 years or less. They can happen in the space of 1 month. If a volcano goes off and showers the upper atmosphere with ash and not enough sunlight gets to the planet. And, there was a cold snap in 1888 that bears this out. It was called the year without a summer. You can look it up in your history books or in your Funkin' Wagnalls. Actually, I think it was 1887, 1888. It lasted 2 years, actually. And I don't know why people think that the Earth is able to infinitely sustain the abuse that we give it. I mean, sooner or later the worm turns. And there's another thing. We get rid of all the earthworms. Where are we going to be? Now, you might be saying to yourself, oh, the lowly worm, who needs them? What do they do? Primitive things. But, life on Earth couldn't exist without earthworms, basically, because there's humus. Not to be mistaken with hummus, the delicious Middle Eastern treat made of mashed chickpeas. And you can get a falafel sandwich at the Middle East for 99 cents with a coupon. That and 99 cents will get you a delicious falafel sandwich. They are no longer sponsoring this show, by the way, but I thought I'd throw that in anyway for old time's sake. But I mean, so much depends on so little, and so we have Bill Clinton vowing to be a foreign policy president. He will make his mark as a foreign policy master. It's kind of frightening. I wish he'd just decide to micromanage everything. School uniforms, things like that. That's the sort of thing that he is more than able to handle. So year 2000 looks like a pretty interesting race. It's going to shape up to be fascinating. I don't know, Perot's going to be kind of old. He might be out of the running for that. So it might actually be a 2-man race this time around, and that would be a relief. I'm sick of seeing that squawking parrot head, trying to push his way into the limelight. He obviously wasn't invited to the 1996 presidential debates, and with good reason. Because the guy he got for his vice president this time, O.J. and Michael Jackson were busy, so he couldn't get them. Instead, he got this guy he co-wrote a book about bashing Japan, and that's great, Well, the distinguished politician, what's his name? He's never actually run for office or served in any sort of public sort of position, but he did write a book with Ross Perot. That's a real prestige gig. Co-writing a book with Ross Perot. That would be quite a thing to put on your list of accomplishments. I suppose he'll have it on his gravestone. I was flunky to an arrogant, loudmouth, midget Texan crazy man. I mean, it used to be that, people would run for president and they wouldn't get that kind of spotlight attention. There's 200 or 300 people running for president in the New Hampshire primaries every election season. But Ross Perot has the big bucks, and of course he's the one who gets all the attention. So instead of just being a colorful sidelight like someone like Maury Taylor was, he's like the whole enchilada when it comes to third-party candidates. Ralph Nader, man, oh man, he really bit it. They couldn't even get him on the ballot in Massachusetts. Can you believe that? The one place where he might have had a fighting chance at maybe breaking 1%, and he couldn't even get on the ballot. I mean, the only place he broke 2 digits was in Madison, Wisconsin, for Christ's sake. I mean, what does that tell you? Well, be that as it may, it'll be a long, long time before we have another president from Arkansas. Dale Bumpers, who was a presidential aspirant at one time or another, if I recall correctly, is retiring. And of course, all sorts of folks are jockeying for his position, including several former or current White House aides. So it's going to be Al Gore or Gephardt, probably, with about an 80% probability against, who knows? I mean, in the year 2000, I mean, what do we got? George Bush Jr., Dan Quayle. That's great. One's the son of Bush, the other one is the surrogate son of Bush. And then you get all the others who are Jack Kemp. He's not the only guy that has a fighting chance. And, you know, he's not going to get it. Who needs a former football player? I mean, a former actor was bad enough, but a former football player, that's really scraping it, you know? Or maybe Bill Bradley, the former basketball player who won in the Democratic primaries. Nobody expects Cuomo to run. And that's a thing called SAG. But when you look at his list of accomplishments in New York State, I mean, I hate to say it, but he wasn't really that great a senator, to tell you the truth. I mean, Moynihan has his faults, and he sometimes acts contrary when perhaps he shouldn't, but I think he has a more solid list of things that he's actually done as a senator from New York than Governor Cuomo ever accomplished. You know, the governorship of New York used to be considered a stepping stone to the presidency, but that was like maybe 35 years ago. I mean, it's not the case anymore because New York is so incredibly difficult to manage that nobody can really do more than an adequate job. And you think Governor Pataki's going to run in the Republican primary? Well, let's see. I think the odds against that ever happening, him winning that is about 100 to 1. But who would his vice president be? Howard Stern? I don't know. See, now that's the thing. Howard Stern dropped out of the governorship, the race for the governorship, because he didn't want to divulge his finances. And that's a real shame because he would have really put the kibosh on Pataki. I think Pataki should thank Howard Stern every day of his life that he became governor. He's from what, Peekskill, New York? That was what he did. He was the mayor of Peekskill, New York. Again, you know, quite a credential for being governor of a state like New York. Yeah, New York kind of, it's a real mare's nest. Well, I guess it's time to break down for the night. If not literally, then figuratively. So, let me say that about this. You have been tuned in Noise Party. What you have been watching is known as the Cabaret of the Oddly Normal. Glad I had an opportunity to chat with you. Hope we all can do this again. You'll see.
Weekdays, NBC Daytime. Kids are using a story every parent should see. Daytime NBC tonight.
This is a News Channel 10 update.
Well, we got about 4 minutes left. I don't know. I mean, I could try to like throw some really cool stuff on here in the last 4 minutes. It's just that I'm running very late. And maybe I can at least make a logo for the next one.
Aren't as protected as people in cars. And under Rhode Island law, motorcycles are considered motor vehicles. They have the same rights on the roads and highways.
Anyway, this is Cafe Cabaret, and you have been tuned to a presentation of what we're forced to call, for want of a better word, the Wrong Hero's greatest hits. And this was performances recorded live at AS220 in Providence over the past 6 months or so. And please tune in next week. And we're going to give you some well, not next week, but for the next anthology of this kind, where we're going to be bringing you, let's see, what am I going to call it? I forget. Oh yeah, Damage Control. And I'll show some brief excerpts of next week's programming for you. And next time's program. I don't know if I'm going to back-to-back these or not. Let's see. How's this going? Watch this. Whoops. That's not me. It's not me. Oh, that's the girl who does the Bessie Smith numbers. Isn't that cool? Somebody still cares about Bessie Smith. Anyway, Damage Control. It's like it starts out the 7th such anthology of Wrong Hero performances at AS220 with a bang, as you can see. So anyway, this has been The Wrong Hero, Slowly But Surely, live at AS220 Volume 6.
American humorist Mark Twain said, education is everything.
A cauliflower is just a cabbage with a college degree. Hi, I'm the Wrong Hero, and I say this.